Now that we know that factoring is something that we can do with at least parts of a rational expression, for instance, we factored the denominator in order to find, in previous videos, in order to find the domain of the expression where our domain restrictions might be. Can we also use factoring to simplify a rational expression? So let's take a look at a couple here. Here's one that says 15 times x squared over x. And remember, let's make a note over here. Remember that when we're dealing with fractions, when we're dealing with a fraction, that any number at all over itself is equal to 1, right? I normally like to draw my little any number over itself is a 1. Okay? So do we have any 1s in an expression like 15x squared over x? Well, if I understand 15x squared to be 15 times x, then I certainly have a 1 here with these x's on the top and bottom. So those, I can divide those out, and I'm just left with 15x at the top and 1 at the bottom, so we can just write it as 15x. The rule, remember, from exponents is that when we have the same base of the exponent and different exponents, as long as we're dividing them, then we just subtract. So 2 minus 1 is 1. So I'm left with only 1x. We'll make that a little more apparent in our practices. Let's take a look at another one where we have x squared minus 3x plus 2 over x plus 1 times x minus 2. So the bottom, the denominator here, is already factored. It's in factored form. So let's factor the numerator and then see if we can divide out any 1s. Sorry, I had 1s on the brain. So I'm looking for factors of 2 that'll combine to give me a negative 3. My only factors of 2 are 1 and 3. 3. The 2 is negative. Because this 2 is positive, then this 1 has to be negative. So this factored is x minus 1 times x minus 2, and lo and behold, I have a 1 here that I can divide out. So when I divide out that 1, what am I left with? X minus 1 over x plus 1. And now this one is simplifying. So this is where knowing how to factor gets really fun with rational expressions, because you can factor things out and then slash all your 1s out of there, and whatever you're left with, that's your answer. Let's try one more just for the fun of it. Let's try something that looks like x minus 8 over 8 minus x. That's interesting. They've got essentially the same terms, only on top my x is positive, on bottom my x is negative. In the numerator my 8 is negative, and in the denominator my 8 is positive. So what would happen if I were to say factor out a negative 1 from this? Well, essentially I would have a negative x, right, because a negative times a negative gives me that positive x, and a positive 8, because this positive times that negative would give me a negative 8. So if I did that, did that help me in any way? Do I now have a 1 somewhere? let's rewrite the numerator again to say that we just use our, well, you tell me what property we use to do that. And then on the denominator I have that, and looky, who's got the cookie? I've got a 1 to divide out. So this number, this rational expression here, is another way of saying -1.